Uko kuno aho pano Mama wanna get it nice I know Buddha meso I know Buddha tebe I know kaya marigi.
Right, 2 July 2023, and today I'm joined by my usual guest, Dr. Feddious Mutenheri. How are you, Doc?
Gambako, I'm very well. How are you? And a very good
I'm very well.
To all our viewers.
Yes, thank you very much, Doc. And today we're going to move quite quickly because I don't know when my power is going to go off. But I want to give you an opportunity before we start to just recap on the events in the CCC. What is your view of the events in the CCC over the past week?
Thank you, Gambakwe, for that. My view, you asked me, is that I think the CCC has done quite well in terms of entering into this race against all the odds. Remember, for me, I think I have to be a bit brutal with the facts. That the CCC, which is almost just a year and few months old, has had it difficult to set up. Remember, when they were coming from the MDC alliance, no one gave them a chance. They were a topic of scorn, particularly its president, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, as he tried to navigate the political terrain, which obviously had become a minefield. You know, with when your own colleagues, the likes of Douglas Monzora and others, clearly show that their interest is power for the sake of it. Their interest is to get into to the top by hook and crook, by association with those that are known to be like ZANU-PF. You know, it was difficult, but look, the CCC managed to form up by the 24th of January. They went into the by-election. After the by-election, we saw that they did extremely well. Again, nobody gave them a chance. To the build-up to this election, which is just less than 2 months, everybody actually sets a bigger standard. Look, everyone set you know, the highest standard for the CCC, which only shows me that CCC is the best foot forward. It is the party that has all the hopes of the people. Everybody expects them to do everything perfectly right. But consider their history, that this is a party whose finances, which were due to them as MDC alliance, was taken by Douglas Monzora, who has failed so far to even field one parliamentary candidate. Here is a party that was said to have no structure, but has managed to field all the 210 constituencies rather. Of course, I am now aware that about 53 of the councils, they have not been able to field, but this is not of their own making. It is the administrative hiccups and everything associated with the regime shenanigans to stop them. Listen, I also don't want to say I'm giving them 100% clean bill of doing. Of course, they are learning as they go, but up to date, I think in everyone's mind and heart, everyone would have wanted to know that the CCC has managed to field candidates and that they are able to compete. But if you look on the other side, I always wonder, why is ZANU-PF not willing to have a clean contestation, a clean, you know, competition, electoral competition, why is it that they always want to put spanners on the works, which is actually the major issue, Gambakwe, that we should discuss tonight. But so far, for the Triple C, I think given the odds, given the terrain and the environment they are working in, I should give them a thumbs up, because look, there are various parties funded, and we know their proxies of ZANU-PF. They have failed totally to put in their candidates, but the Triple C has managed, which should give us, I mean, every Zimbabwean hope that at least there is an alternative besides ZANU-PF. I think that's what we should look at, Gambakwe, right now.
Okay, Doc, I get you, and I do agree with you that the CCC has done quite well in terms of fielding candidates. If you compare to MDC, Fungonzora, and the other parties, there are people who came like Chapman, who were promising, and in the past we've had a lot of other people who came and they did not manage to field. So the CCC is doing well in terms of preparing for elections. Obviously, I've criticized them in the past for failing to handle the pre-election processes, the primary elections, as they were called in the past. I think they need to improve there. But I think they've done very, very well in terms of fielding candidates for parliamentary, for senatorial. I don't want to take that away from them. They had hiccups on the council.
Fantastic. Gambakwe, that is objective. You know, that is objective. Here is a party that does not have offices. Their offices were taken away by probably a party that is being run by one man now. Their finances were taken away from them. They had literally their party was had become a minefield of people working against them. Look at the various parliamentarians who decided to ditch them at the last moment, but they've managed to come around that. And kudos to you that for once I am happy when I hear you express such views which are quite objective, that under the circumstances, I think the Triple C has shown that they are willing to lead this country.
Okay, so Doc, I was in Zambia last week. I think you've seen the video that I made about the Zambians.
I did.
They are totally pleased with their new president. He's extremely popular. I was shocked to see people queuing up all the way on the road for about 20 kilometers to welcome him back when he had traveled for a debt restructuring program. So I want to find out from you, in your view, given the situation in the councils, and also the fact that the CCC, we don't know what's going to happen in the rural areas, do you think Chamisa can be that popular? He can be that effective as what is happening in Zambia?
Okay, that's quite a very good question, Gambakwe. But I would want to answer that question in two ways. In two ways, Gambakwe. Can Chamisa be an effective president? Basically, I want to answer it as one: what makes a good president? What makes an effective president? And secondly, you are asking in terms of the councils where they were not able to field. Obviously, your question is like, would he be effective in terms of his on the ground activities if he doesn't have people representing him in those constituencies? Number one, let me start with the question of the characteristics of a good president. I think Zimbabwe gives us a good case study of what a president should not be. What should a president not be? Since 1980 up till 2017, we have seen how President Robert Mugabe has run this country. He ran it with the arrogance of a man who had entitlement. President Mugabe ran that country as if he had the right, he had the divine right to rule it simply because they went to the war. I'm not taking it away from them that they fought the liberation struggle. The execution of that struggle brought us independence from the colonialists, and that should be applauded. But the fact that at the inception of independence, they did not set up a state which would protect the human rights of people, which would protect the very things that they were fighting for. That was a failure on their part. President Mugabe, throughout his tenure, always tried to do things that will maintain him in power. He focused more on power retention rather than on serving the people. There are few things, of course, there are few things he did, like in education, in healthcare, especially up to 1990, that we could say, yes, it really was effective and developed our country. But if you look at the whole period, the economy went down. There was ineptitude, inefficiency in running the government, to a point where, remember, in 1980, the Zim dollar at that point was almost 1:1 with the British pound. They ran it down. It showed that they were ineffective, inefficient, incompetent, basically. 1996, if you look into the records, was the only year when our economy and our GDP was at its best. Fast forward to 2017, there was an opportunity for change where President Mnangagwa got in. And people, because they wanted to, to give the liberation movement another chance, there was always this thinking that President Mnangagwa will probably breathe in a new kind of a way of running that country. And he had all the goodwill from everybody. But no sooner had he gotten into power did he show that once again he was even worse than President Mugabe. He was in it for power retention. He was in it for primitive accumulation. We have seen with the gold mafia, it's all showing. We know what is happening in the mining industry. We know what is happening, with his family being accused of taking every aspect of the economy, and the corruption that is so rampant. It is clear that is not what Zimbabweans want for a president. I don't want to take it long. Now, President Advocate Nelson Chamisa, we have seen him as a government minister from 2009 to 2013. And he made changes in his own ICT area where he was, made great changes. And we saw transformation of the ICT information and communication. We see there was quite a change with the interventions that he made. But not only that, President Nelson Chamisa, he has spoken peace ever since. He's one young man that if you look at what has been done to him, he would be a vindictive. He would speak like a vindictive man. But he has shown empathy against all the attacks that he have had. Talk of Douglas Monzora, talk of Madam Kupe. The way he has handled Madam Kupe's return to the Triple C, he has kept quiet. He has not made any comments that are negative. And he has shown that he is an embracing leader. Those aspects show you what kind of leader you are going to have. Even with Douglas Monzora's actions, everything that he has done, he took literally everything, using the courts, captured courts, using ZANU-PF support. He has taken everything. But to show you a good leader, you have to check what has Advocate Nelson Chamisa done. He has kept quiet and he has developed from the ground. For me, those are the little aspects you should check in a leader. So, as a person, I think Advocate Nelson Chamisa shows maturity, shows a statesman-like character that you want to see in a new Zimbabwe. Look, Zimbabwe has had a very dark past which includes, the killings in the liberation struggle at Chimoyo and stuff. You go to the Gukura Hundi, you go to Mrambatrina, you go to the post 2018 violence, and there is need for healing. And you need a leader that is not arrogant. But what do we have today? President Mnangagwa, if you listen to him talk, he talks nothing. He is empty. He is bereft of anything that Zimbabweans want to heal. Listen, I was just listening to one clip in which he was insulting grandmothers. Coming from a president. Advocate Nelson Chamisa is shows moral probity when he stands on the political pulpit. He preaches unity. He preaches reconciliation. He preaches development. He preaches what exactly resonates with the people of Zimbabwe, that is development, modernization of this economy. He speaks to the issues that Zimbabweans want to hear. He speaks to what he is going to do to the economy if he gets in. But look, what do we have from the current regime? What we have is, I'm sorry to say, are people who are, devoid of any leadership qualities. Right. In terms of, you have asked that without the 53 constituencies, will it be effective? I think it will be effective. Right now, what we want is, in the opposition, is the presidency, supported by parliamentary wins. And I think once he gets the presidency, President Chamisa is one person who has preached unity amongst all political parties. And I'm sure many would be willing to work with him to change the laws in the country, so that he can run the economy the way he wants to. So I think, basically, having said that, President Chamisa would be a very, very effective president, more than what we are seeing in Zambia, more than what we are seeing in countries that have gotten change like Kenya, Malawi. I think President Chamisa has a stage set for him, because Zimbabwe has got everything that it needs. We have all the minerals. We are in industrial hub. We only need to resuscitate those industries that ZANU-PF has run down in Bulawayo, in the Midlands. And so, if you ask me, President Chamisa, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, is the only person that can be effective in that country if given an opportunity in this election.
Okay, so Doc, I hear you, and I want us to quickly wrap this up. You've talked about Chamisa's adequacy and ability as a president. And I don't want to keep repeating the same thing that we discuss almost regularly about structures and so forth. But I want us to go into the upcoming campaigns and what ZANU-PF has been doing and what Chamisa has been doing. What is your comment on that? They've been drawing large crowds, President Mnangagwa, all over the country. And Chamisa currently has done a rally here in South Africa and has done 1 or 2 rallies this week. What do you think? Do you think he's doing enough to win in the raw areas?
Yes, I think it is in everyone's mind. The question is, will ZANU-PF and the state allow the CCC to carry out their political activities unrestrained? And if what we have seen in the few days ago is anything to go by, then we should be happy. I've seen that they were in Marondera recently. And I've seen, previously they were in Mbare. And what needs to be done, listen, the state, because we are running towards the last leg of the election, should allow all political parties to carry out their activities. And for now, I think I should be, like everybody else, should be happy that if what we are seeing should continue, then we are happy with the Triple C. So I'm sure very soon they will also be launching their major campaign. Let's see if they would be allowed to do it, just like ZANU-PF did in Chipinge. That's just like what they recently did in Nyele. We want to see when the Triple C also announces its major rally or its major launch campaign. What is the state going to do? What is ZANU-PF going to do? If all that is cleared, then I think we should be happy. And I'm sure the Triple C has got many strategies. They've been doing their Mugwazo, which we saw was very, very effective. Actually, it has been a very effective tool that they've used, and they should continue. But there is no question about the need to do star rallies. They should be allowed, just like ZANU-PF is doing, unrestrained access into all the areas, into the rural areas, into the urban areas, and let's see what is going to happen.
Okay, Doc. It's been a quick and short discussion. I've been all over the continent this week, so I need to take a break. I've got some new stuff coming up this week. So what I want us to do is...
No, I was saying, I know you are in Cape Town now. You have moved from Joburg. You are in Cape Town, and I'm happy for you.
So, yeah. So what I want to do, Doc, is I want us to go a bit deeper. There's a lot of developments in terms of the candidates. So now we need to go into the meat of the matter. So we want to look at the gazetted list. I'm going to quickly look at it this week. We also want to look at the internal issues that are arising in both ZANU-PF and CCC. I think ZANU-PF guys are underestimating the problems that are arising because of Kaskwere. So we're going to look at that. And we're also going to look at the detail of the policies that have been set out by Xavier Kaskwere. This election can turn out to become a problem for both CCC and ZANU-PF, and we might be heading for a runoff. That is something that many people have not considered. Might be heading for a runoff, and a runoff in Zimbabwe can turn out to be quite tricky. So I do not think, from what I'm seeing now, that Chamisa is going to win outright in the first round of the elections. So we might be having a situation developing because of the presence of Xavier Kaskwere. You saw what I mentioned, that the situation in Zimbabwe is deteriorating. I was there last week. I was at the borders. If you see the borders filling up with people, then you know that something is going wrong, and the situation economically is not getting better. So obviously that's a minus for ZANU-PF. They're going to have a harder time to deal with that situation that is developing. If you look at the situation here in South Africa on the streets, the number of Zimbabweans has increased drastically in Johannesburg over the past month or two. These are effects on the ground. So the election is going to be very, very different, and I've said this a number of times. So let's come back next week. Doc, we were late this week. We came on a Sunday because I was traveling. So we'll be back again on Wednesday, and let's catch up on the most important developments, especially in the CCC. I want us to spend more time on the CCC because, as you are saying, Chamisa stands quite a good chance on the presidential election. He stands a chance of doing something there and then not doing something on the senatorial and on the parliamentary, where they didn't get themselves organized. They've got 20 double candidates. Are you aware of that?
Yeah, but we know that those are issues in the courts now, and I think Advocate Nelson Chamisa himself has been very clear as to those that have registered and are not part of them, who are either from ZANU-PF or are either some funded guys who are within the party. Yes, we know that. So let's see how that is going to be solved. But one thing I am confident about is that through their process of citizen-centric politics, I think the people within those areas where the election is actually going to happen, within the ward, within the constituents, they know. They are the ones who know the politics that is happening. And I'm sure that will happen. We have seen this happen. The issue of double candidates is not a new phenomenon in our politics. Of course, we are very wary and we know that it can cause division of votes. But at this stage, I think and I think the real candidates are known in those areas. So yes, we'll get to see what happens. This is not a new phenomenon, so I don't want to focus on it as a major issue. I think yes, in 1, 2, or 3 other constituencies, it could become a big issue. But as we have seen over the years, the people within the constituencies, they know who their real leaders are, and they know those who are planted to cause division.
Okay, I think, Doc, I'm happy with our discussion, quite short. Let's come back again in a few days' time and let's continue this discussion. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Nothing much, but like you have set the stage. Yes, I think it would be good that we look at as a discussion point the effect of the Kasukwere entrance, whether he would actually be able to even enter the race or not, and if he does manage to enter, what it is that what would be the effect. And you must know that it's history repeating itself in every election, especially from 2000. We have seen ZANU-PF, whether direct or by proxy, they've always had this dark horse that come in the middle. So with Kasukwere, we are not shocked. It is part of what they have done, you know, with Simbama Koni and with Mtambara. We have seen it with now with they were trying it with Monzora. Of course, they realized that Monzora was not a good guy, and now we are seeing it with Kasukwere. There's always been all these dark horses that are thrown in. I mean, there is always a plan, but this time I think with the CCC, they have done extremely well. So I'm sure that will be a good discussion point when we meet next time, Gambako.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. And people have been asking me to bring Jonasi, to bring Senator Pugeni. I'm sure we'll be able to do that. Maybe one day we'll bring these guys. But these guys are now full-fledged politicians now. Unlike you, you are the only guest that I have who's not a politician. Jonas is now full-time ZANU-PF, and obviously Senator Pugeni is still in MDCT. I wonder why. Many people were asking.
Did he manage? I mean, did Senator Pugeni manage to register? Did he manage to register to run for a senatorial seat?
I don't know if he managed in Lupane, but we'll check it tomorrow. I will go through the list of all the people who we know that are on the list of the gazetted list of candidates. It will take a bit of time, but we need to go into the detail because we also have to look at the depth of the candidates who Chamisa has been putting in. You remember we're talking about people like Regai Tsunga who lost the by-election, but then I'm sure he was put back as a candidate. People like Tedai BT, Young Scala, and there's a guy who's Chamisa there who's put himself as a double candidate who's having a fight with Maher on Twitter. So there's a lot that has happened. I think tomorrow I'll just go a bit into that data, and then maybe if we've got some interesting outcomes, then we can look at it on Wednesday.
All right. No, that would be fantastic. But from just scanning what the CCC has done, I think they've done extremely well in terms of infusing youthfulness, skill, and of course experience within their candidates. I've been looking at it, but like you rightly say, we'll look at it individual by individual. And I think we have got a ward-centric, constituency-centric approach by the CCC, which will turn out actually to produce good results. And I am very, very confident that they are going to do extremely well.
Okay, Docs, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you again on Wednesday.
Thank you, Gambakwe. Very good night.
Thank you, and good night to everybody.
Uyo, uko, kuno.